all sectors. And I made the comment in this legislature yesterday that it's also at a point now where I believe we can engage our business sector, our businesses, because it is no longer something that's swept under the rug. We recognize that it is a necessity of a collaborative approach for all of us. My honourable colleague brings forth 3 or 4 ideas that I would like to touch on. Of course, the work done by the Standing Committee at their forum last year and this year, I can't underestimate the value of that. I did receive a copy of the Hansard of both the presentations and the roundtable afterwards, because I felt it was important that even though I wasn't there, the members from all 3 political parties were there. I felt it was important that I read and understand what was said and what was presented. And lots of good, solid information, lots of reality and realistic comments as well. I particularly enjoyed the discussion about who should be responsible for poverty, and the discussion around, should it be the Minister of Finance? Should it be the Minister of Community Services? Should it be the Minister of Economic Development? Very interesting that we are taking the umbrella that has existed solely over community services as the department solely responsible. We're taking that away and we're saying, no, it is not one department's sole responsibility, it is a collective. And it is the coming together of those departments and a collective in the form of society that we can truly make some advances on a poverty strategy that would have true meaning. We could pay lip service, but that would be simply another report to table. So I think it's important that we recognize that there's an acknowledgement out there that it is interdepartmental and it is a collaborative. My colleague mentions the fact that the commitment was made that 30% of earned income is kept and not used against an income assistance client. I think that that's important to reiterate. I think it's important to identify that last year the department and this government committed that 30% of all income tax return could be kept and not used against a client. I think that that's important. I think those small pieces, even though we're looking for more, I think it's important that we recognize those small advances and give credit where credit is due. The Harvest Connection program, one that I'm looking forward to seeing additional uptake on this year. I'm truly hoping that we have additional uptake, and I know that perhaps other members may have questions about it, so I won't go into the details of what we're going to do to encourage that, but I certainly hope we have more uptake. The direct question about have we considered it for other sectors, the easy answer is yes. We have considered it. We have talked. We've talked in the department. I've discussed it with the former deputy, and will discuss it more with the current deputy. The Office of Economic Development plays a key role here, as do the municipalities and the communities across the province in identifying other areas where we may find it beneficial, the sectors where we may find it beneficial. The Harvest Connection, as it exists right now, serves to provide for a labour shortage in our agricultural sector. And where it may not be of assistance to an individual in Dartmouth North, we know that there are other sectors where we hope to make advances, and we will continue the discussion and the dialogue within the departments and within the community to ensure that we provide those opportunities elsewhere around the province.
Order, please. Time for the NDP caucus has expired. I'll now recognize the honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and certainly pleased today to have the opportunity to add to our caucus's questions to the minister. I wasn't here for, of course, some of the previous questioning, having to go to the Red Chamber for the Office of Health Promotion. So anyway, I just wanted to preface my remarks today by saying that in my riding, I get to work with 2 offices of community services. The Kentville office and the Middleton office are the 2 that I contact on a regular basis. And certainly the number of contacts from constituents to very often help them navigate and negotiate with the system. It's generally a group of clients who have low levels of education, which is, of course, part of the reason that they're in some of the predicaments. We also have high seasonal unemployment in our area as well. A strong agriculture community, but there is certainly a lot of seasonal jobs. And these people run into challenges. Also live in an area that has, having been settled for a couple of 250 years, and there's a lot of exceptionally old housing stock, a lot of housing stock that's again over 100 years old. And this is, of course, one of the areas that community service is engaged in. But I wanted to tell the minister that you know, generally speaking, the people that I deal with in our Kentville office and in the Middleton office are certainly excellent to deal with on a daily and ongoing basis. Primarily in the Kentville office, I deal with Jim Ferris. Jim is one that has asked me to deal pretty well directly with him as opposed to dealing with the caseworkers. And I have found Jim to be just simply exceptional. In the Middleton office, Gordon McPherson does handle many of our constituent calls, many of mine and my assistants' calls, and again, even though perhaps he's a gentleman getting near the end of his career in community services, still has great energy and great vitality for the job. But certainly the challenges and the stresses that the caseworkers I think have to handle, you know, does show up. You know, we see you know, a number of people move in and out of that department, especially at the caseworker level, and that may be there may be some commonality across the province with that, due to the nature of the job and due to entering into the community service work, community services work. And so, but I did want to overall say, you know, how pleased I am with the kind of relationship we do have. And my office, to the extent that this year we did something for the first time, which was my office went down and did a little employee appreciation thing with the community services office in Middleton. Because especially during times of emergency, we have those kind of people that have been very, very responsive, and it was important that we acknowledge and appreciate that. And so the only bad thing out of it was that I had to pledge something for a charity auction, and they knew that Tom Glavine of the New York Mets is my second cousin, so they only asked for a Tom Glavine autographed baseball. So I had to come up with that this year. I wanted to preface my questions, and quite a few will be around poverty issues. I've been on the standing committee for the past 3.5 years. Took part in both of the poverty forums, and there's no question that maybe some of these stats have been referred to. But just to set the backdrop for my questions, 1 in 5 children in Nova Scotia live in poverty. 1 in 6 women live in poverty. Over 11,400 of these children have one parent working full-time. Over 52,000 in Nova Scotia are on social assistance. Over 25,000 Nova Scotians used food banks in 2005, and almost half of those are youth under the age of 18. Women earn 71 cents for every $1 that men earn. Nova Scotia minimum wage, I think about to change, but currently the 4th lowest in the country. 63% of minimum wage earners are women. Income assistance rate in Nova Scotia for single parent plus 1 child is the 2nd lowest behind Alberta. 16.1% of Nova Scotians are low income. 40,000 Nova Scotian children live in poverty. So that's a pretty unsettling kind of list of statistics, and I know that some of those are indeed the daily, the weekly, and the ministerial challenges that the minister does face on an ongoing basis. I guess you know, as the minister ended off in her comments to the member opposite, you know, poverty reduction is certainly a multi-departmental and interdepartmental challenge for sure. And there's no question that I think, however, a concerted effort around a poverty reduction strategy. And when I take a look at Newfoundland, and again having that rural element with so many ports, so many coastal communities that have been devastated, of course, by literally the loss, not a downturn, but literally the loss of the ground fishery there has put place many challenges. So government there has set in motion a poverty reduction strategy. And I think that's the kind of model, and perhaps there are some others across the country that we certainly need to be taking a look at. So I just wanted to make that as part of my opening remarks. Getting back to one of the areas that I know people have some challenges with in the department is the caseworker. And over the past year, a couple of the caseworkers that I'd been dealing with for a couple of years and had actually come out of other civil servant roles, other caseworker roles, justice or whatever the case, and have filtered back there, finding, of course, to a good extent, you know, somewhat of a burden, just simply too many clients. So I'm just wondering if there is new money in this year's budget for additional caseworkers, Madam Minister.
The Honourable Minister of Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And with a wonderful preamble like that, to cut to the chase to such a quick question, Mr. Chair, I just can't let some of that delightful preamble go without comment. So if my honourable colleague doesn't mind, I would like to respond to some of the issues that he did bring up. And Mr. Chair, you know, he started his comments by talking about how he and many others in this chamber assist their constituents, and I quite enjoy the way you, Mr. Chair, that the honourable colleague identified the way he does that he helps them navigate the system, because it can be overwhelming, Mr. Chair, and we all know that. So certainly, I commend the member for his navigational skills. I'm sure his constituents benefit because of that. And I didn't realize, I didn't know, staff hadn't told me that he and his staff had gone down to the Middleton office and had done an employee appreciation day. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I want to state for the record that I am extremely pleased and want to celebrate that with the member. That truly is a wonderful thing to do. All 52 of us in this chamber, at some point or another, will use the services of the staff of community services. I am certain. So I really enjoy hearing that, and I will make sure that I make reference to that to the Middleton staff at my earliest convenience to communicate that to them, how much it truly was appreciated and how much I enjoyed hearing that. Now, Mr. Chair, there's no question that you know, statistics are they are real, and they are there, and they're very hard to grasp at times. And statistics dictate a lot of the time what our focus is and where our focus needs to be. We take some solace, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, in knowing that some of those statistics provide us with the opportunity to respond. And I think immediately about the issues regarding some of the challenges that women face. And I was pleased to learn that we in Nova Scotia are one of 4 provinces that provide funding to women's centres. I would have thought it would have been all 13 provinces and territories, but indeed we're only one of 4. So that truly is rewarding for us to know that we rise to the occasion, we commit, and it's my understanding that we are actually, of the four, we likely provide the funding in the most healthy manner compared to the other provinces, Mr. Chair. So that's a recognition that we know what we're doing is the right thing to be doing with those women's centres. And certainly, my honourable colleague mentions the work of the Standing Committee. I was part of that committee before becoming minister, and I have kept myself informed as to the information that came out of that second round of the Poverty Forum. I made mention earlier that I have read Hansard. I've paid particular attention to the suggestions. I've received a letter from the Standing Committee asking for some input and feedback on a couple of issues, and I certainly will do that as soon as time permits. And I know that the presentations they received were from a cross-section of stakeholders. And I think that that's key. When we talk about the poverty reduction strategy, and we talk about poverty and how it is interdepartmental, I think that we have to acknowledge that, that all the stakeholders have to come together, and we have to listen. We have to inventory what we've got going on now. We have to determine if it's serving the purpose it's supposed to be serving. We have to determine if there's more we can do within the parameters that we've got in front of us, with the budgets that we've got in front of us already. And as we move forward and put some concrete programs, some concrete policy and methods in place to improve those statistics that were quoted earlier, that we know we're doing so in a manner that, that we will be able to evaluate. As an educator, I know that my colleague understands what I mean when I say that you have to be able to evaluate the success or the lack thereof at the end of a program. So certainly I think that's a key point. My honourable colleague mentioned the Newfoundland poverty reduction strategy. I have a copy of that is finely highlighted. I have been going through it myself. I've been comparing it to what we're doing here in Nova Scotia because I'm very interested to see what the Newfoundland plan is. I've been pleasantly surprised throughout because we're in extremely good shape, and I'm not going to compare province to province today, but we're in very good shape when it comes to a comparison of those two models. So as well, the Irish, there's a model out of Ireland that is very interesting for honourable colleagues to have a look at as well, and it does provide for some very innovative and creative ways to approach the reduction of poverty. My colleague asked pointedly, is there a reduction in staff? There is no planned reduction in staff, Mr. Chair. There is no downgrading, Mr. Chair, in the number of our staff. Indeed, I believe the mention in the budget is an $11 million increase to pay for the negotiated wage and salary benefit packages that have been negotiated, and so we will continue to negotiate in good faith and to continue to employ the caseworkers, the social workers, and those valuable employees, Mr. Chair, of the department.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Minister. Just to hit on that question again, but is there any new money for additional case workers, since the workload is indeed one of those very challenging areas? And have you consulted with staff to determine the number of case workers that, you know, on an overall kind of ballpark area, what would be, you know, ideally to have in order to properly service the clients? So any additional monies for additional case workers, and what would be sort of an ideal ratio that the department would like to achieve? Certainly, I don't think in many of our departments now we're there. So what would be that, based on the general type of caseload, what would be that number that we would work towards?
The Honourable the Minister of Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and just getting clarification from staff, because as my honourable colleague knows, we have various components to our department, and so The issue of staff, whether you're dealing with child welfare or you're talking about employment support and income assistance and caseworkers, it can vary. So when we talk about the child welfare and caseworkers and ratio, we do abide by the Canadian Welfare League of North America standards, and we do respect those ratios, and we are in good shape, and we are at a healthy level with those ratios. As per the income assistant caseworker ratios, which I think perhaps is what my honourable colleague was looking for, I don't have available to me a perfect ratio number. It would vary so much as the need in a certain area. We have the 4 regions across the province. We've heard, we've heard some areas have certain needs at different times of the year, which outweigh other times of the year for various reasons, seasonal work. If an area is economically stressed at a certain particular time for one reason or another. But we don't have a ratio that we work under, although, and not to sound flippant, Mr. Chair, the perfect ratio, I suppose, would be 1 to 1. But that could never be achievable, I don't imagine, unless we eliminated the department altogether and worked toward that. But as to a perfect ratio, Mr. Chair, or an accepted ratio, the staff work to the best of their ability. They do have a stressful workload, and I recognize that, and they recognize that, and it doesn't fall to the wayside, Mr. Chair.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to the employment support and income assistance, you had talked about legislating annual adjustments to basic personal allowance, and I don't think to date that has happened. So, and I'm wondering why not, and have you abandoned that process, or is it still under review?
The Honourable, the Minister of Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And the issue around employment support and income assistance and the personal allowance rates, which the member is referencing, of course, I've stood in my place and celebrated the 3rd year in a row of increases for those, Mr. Chair. And while we recognize that was an 11% increase over the 3 years, we did make a commitment, Mr. Chair, to index the increase to the Consumer Price Index, and Mr. Chair, that will be effective October the 1st of 2007.
The honourable member for Kings West.
In this area of employment support and income assistance, of course, people for a whole wide variety of reasons, and I'm sure the minister knows quite a list and category of reasons why people get overpayment. And then, of course, it comes to the real pain for these people then are the clawbacks. And a question that I had asked of me recently was, in terms of, I guess, legalities, what is the time period in which the department can actually legally go back and ask for those clawbacks to be repaid?
The Honourable Minister of Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I had a very lengthy discussion with the member from Cape Breton South regarding this issue as it pertains to a very challenging component within our department. There are a few words that I've come to have a whole new meaning for. Clawback is one of them. It is a challenge. The overpayment and the clawback issue is one that I don't like. No one in the department likes it. It is unfortunately a case that we find ourselves in. We talk about the need to be accountable. We talk about the need to be preventative. I would hope that someday we could get to a system where it is entirely preventative. We do not make overpayments, and we then therefore do not need to claw back. We talked last evening, and this is something I think that we need to be certain of, that when a client receives additional dollars, additional support for whatever reason, that they completely understand that if indeed that is a loan, that they understand that clearly. Because I think oftentimes clients receive additional dollars for additional supports and don't recognize that we're going to ask for those back. So I think the communication of those payments is very, very important. So that's the first commitment that I have made in this House, and I reiterate that I will ensure that staff understand that that communication is vital. Secondly, to answer the question honestly, there is no statute of limitations on receiving funds that would be viewed as an overpayment. That's something we've talked about in the department. It's something that I am willing to look at. It's something that I have concerns about myself. And we know that those collections of overpayments go to my colleague in Service Nova Scotia Municipal Relations, and we will continue to have dialogue with those individuals to see how we can better satisfy and better deal with those unfortunate situations.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I probably don't need to bring to the floor perhaps cases here, but because I'm sure the minister has probably heard. But I did have one that was absolutely, truly disturbing this year, and it was a call from an employer, and his employee had received a call from the Department of Service Nova Scotia and Municipal Relations, and it was in regard to a clawback. This lady was now working, and probably could have participated in a reasonable and affordable monthly repayment, but the approach of this very aggressive, I'm not sure actually it was a lady or a gentleman at Service Nova Scotia, who said, I need your Capital One credit card right now. And the lady, without doing, oh yes, so without any consulting, without any kind of challenge, gave her the credit card. And it was obviously too late at that point to reverse the process, because she hadn't revealed it to her employer for a little bit. And once he found out about this, realizing that it was certainly over the top in terms of an approach, and I think I'm finding that when community service recipients and people who fortunately do get off the system, we do have to realize, and I try to insist that it should be a temporary engagement with community services. We know some are there for long term for a host of reasons, but when they get off, and if they've had an overpayment, I would certainly like to see those kinds of negotiated paybacks. And if a person is working at minimum wage, then there's only a certain amount that they can pay back. And I would be a strong proponent of really doing a good assessment of what income is coming into the home once they're able to start very regular repayments there. And I think the vast majority of people are open to that process and want to repay something that they were, again, for many reasons, may have received. When it's a clear case that somebody was not disclosing income, well, then that's a very different story. But overpayments are out there for certainly a wide range of reasons. But it's an area that certainly I think we as members find pretty discomforting when the hand of government and one of its departments uses some pretty strong tactics to recover funds. And I do acknowledge that, yes, they have a right to recover, but the process can be sometimes the problem there. So I'm just wondering if the minister is planning to review this whole area.
The Honourable Minister of Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And the issue, the personal story that my honourable colleague referenced is indeed a very unfortunate one. I'm sorry to hear the particulars of that case, and I'm always saddened to hear when individuals have been put in a compromising position because of the circumstances they find them in with overpayments or clawbacks. And so I am very saddened to hear those situations and those stories. We discussed in this chamber earlier the fact that, and I know this is a separate issue, but it bears repeating, Mr. Chair, because we discussed the fact that the overpayment amount is maximized for a certain month. And many members in this chamber have gone to direct contact with the supervisors to negotiate a better repayment schedule. And it's the information that I'm receiving that the supervisors are willing to do so when they are contacted by members. And I want to encourage all members to continue to do that. And I hope that the supervisors continue to be as cooperative. Now, in some cases, we may find that the individual has gone off the system and gone to work, which we need to celebrate. And in celebrating that, we need to look at the policies that we have regarding that transitional period. We know that there are opportunities within the department to provide transitional programming, and this is one area that I would like to acknowledge that I would like to have a look at. It's something that we should look at in the department. Within the policy, can we provide a transitional period whereby it wouldn't be a stress on the individual who has taken it upon themselves to get off the system and go back into the workforce? Could we provide a transitional period there? So I will be asking staff to look at that policy to see if there isn't something we can't do within that transitional period that would provide for some flexibility and some relief of pressure for the individual who is looking to transition into the workforce. And again, the other issue regarding Service Nova Scotia and municipal relations, I know that the folks there operate within the mandate and the policies that they are provided by, and I know that the Minister of Service Nova Scotia Municipal Relations is well aware of the discussions that go on in the chamber as they pertain to the overpayment issues, and I will make sure that I bring up those challenges that we find ourselves in with the Minister, and just ensure that his staff understand the delicacy and the diplomacy that's required when dealing with some of those more stressful situations, Mr. Chair.
The honourable member for Kings Hands.
Thank you very much,
Madam
Minister, and I think that is a positive process that I think can be very judicial, if you wish, in its approach, and also during that transition time, if people can start off with a percentage of repayment in relation to their earnings, and then I think once they get into that practice and habit of a monthly repayment, I think they could very well be underway to making that lump sum over a gradual period of time. Just to move on to a different area of the Career Seek program, and certainly it's one that I think all members of the House were pleased to see get started. I'm just wondering as the business plan this year calls for continuation. I'm just wondering, were targets met last year? How is the program unfolding? Is the demand considerably great for engagement in that program?
The Honourable Minister of Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I thank my honourable colleague for bringing this issue to the floor. When I went back through Hansard from last year, I believe I was asked at least half a dozen times if the department would consider a program of this nature. And we all recognize, as my honourable colleague who has spent his career prior to politics in the education system, those of us who were in the education system recognize, and I believe society in general recognizes, that education is truly one of the most valuable tools to enabling individuals to succeed and do well in life. So, Mr. Chair, I was extremely pleased to be able to introduce the Career Seek program last fall. The department have pulled together a great pilot program. We plan to run the program for a 4-year period, 50 students per year over a 4-year span to culminate in 200 individuals who will benefit from the experiences of a university education. They will not be penalized for that university enrollment. They will not be forced out of the income assistance programming and the other income assistant benefits that they receive. They will not be penalized because of that. Because, Mr. Chair, we know the importance of enabling and empowering individuals to provide for themselves. The nature of the program, we got it up and running. We've educated our staff. We've in-serviced our caseworkers and social workers to the program. We've provided the information so that it's getting out to our clientele. With the nature of the school year, there was an uptake of the program for January because individuals needed to get their ducks in a row. And so as the new university year approaches, I'm looking forward to getting some results, some concrete results from our caseworkers and our social workers to assist those individuals who have identified to us that they would like to take part in the program, and I look forward to watching them succeed in the years to come under that program.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. I was just wanting an update to see how it was unfolding and what progress and steps had been taken so far. Another area, of course, under the income assistance, employment support and income assistance area, of course, is the shelter allowance. And one of the recommendations out of the Forum on Poverty was that housing allowance should be increased to 85% of the rental market. And I'm just wondering what options are being explored relating to shelter allowances. And possibly this could be my last question this afternoon. I think time is running short.
The Honourable the Minister for Community Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I know that again the work of that standing committee and the Forum on Poverty is very valuable, and I have reviewed the information, and I will continue to review the information to see how it fits in. As I've mentioned already on the floor of this chamber, the poverty reduction strategy truly encompasses so many components, and I think the shelter, the housing, the personal allowances, they all factor in there, Mr. Chair. So as we move forward with a strategy to truly provide resources on the ground for those individuals who find themselves in need of our assistance, certainly the personal increases that we have committed to index under the Consumer Price Index, which comes into effect, as I said earlier, October the 1st of 2007, and the shelter increases, which we were able to increase 2 years in a row, Mr. Chair, to recognize that the challenges that face some of our clientele with regards to shelter are real. We know that there are disparities and discrepancies across the province when it comes to rent. Some areas have a harder time providing rental units. Other areas have an abundance. And so we have rental vacancy rates all across the board. The shelter allowances themselves vary depending, Mr. Chair, on your circumstance. There are certainly some flexibility in there as it pertains to families, for persons with disabilities, for individuals. And Mr. Chair, we will continue to look at those rates. And as government is able to, with all of the programs and the allowances and the services that we provide through community services, as government is able to, given the fiscal restraints of the day and the fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers, we will look at all of those issues as they pertain to shelter. And as recommendations come into the department, I want to assure all members, and especially this member who's raised the issue, that as recommendations come into the department, we take those recommendations under consideration. We don't automatically file them in a no-can-do category. We take those considerations under advisement. We work with the experts and the good folks at the department who are able to do some wonderful things with the resources that we have available to us. And again, recognizing that governments have stresses and pressures, we're appreciative of the dollars that we do receive. So, Mr. Chair, with those comments, I will take my place, thank my honourable colleague and all of my colleagues who took part in the debate today.
Order, please. The time allotted for debate in Committee on Supply is now expired for today. I'll call on the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the committee do now rise and report progress and beg leave to sit again on a future day.
The Chair reports.
Committee has met and made progress and begs leave to sit again.
The Honourable Deputy Government House Leader. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned to sit again on Monday, beginning at 2 p.m. to 10, following the daily routine, go into the Committee of the Whole House and Supply, and then public bills for second reading.
The motion is for the House to now rise and meet on Monday at the hour 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. All those in favour, please say aye. Touch by nay. We stand adjourned.